This is a treat, and I cannot imagine how emotionally spent our next guest is. Four-year starter for Wake Forest. She went on to become an award-winning host and analyst for ESPN, covering both the WNBA and college basketball. Please welcome LaChina Robinson. Are you emotionally spent? You're smiling this morning.
I am emotionally spent, Kay, but it's a good time to be a women's basketball fan. Part of the media for me. I'm just over the moon for our sport right now, so it's a happy time.
And you were there in Cleveland. I don't know if you're still there this morning. You were there for the Final Four for ESPN, the championship game build up for the undefeated South Carolina squad. You've got Caitlin Clark's Iowa squad on the other side, who played incredibly as well. How would you describe the vibes from yesterday?
Oh man, the energy was incredible inside the arena, outside the arena. But it's been like that for the last few days. Obviously, the viewership from the semifinals, on the record-setting viewership, let me say, from Friday told the whole story of how anticipated this Final Four has been, arguably the most anticipated in the history of our sport. So there's just been this excitement for the game, this culmination of us kind of celebrating South Carolina's undefeated season, giving Dawn Staley her flowers, obviously celebrating the incredible career of Caitlin Clark in the Iowa Hawkeyes. So there were just a lot of moving pieces, but so much celebrating, so much excitement, and so much to reflect on in terms of the numerous ways that the sport of women's basketball has grown since the installment of Title IX. So just a celebration of the past, the current, and the history of our sport.
How do you describe that? How do you sort of put that into context? Was there a moment that you noticed in the past season or past several seasons that there was a marked change? The first sort of, you're talking about the growth. What sort of tangibly does that look like to you?
I don't think there was one moment, but this energy has been building for a while now. And it starts with the word investment. Right? Title IX is 52 years old now. So women have had access to sport for a long time, but there's not been equity or equality in other areas when it comes to promoting and growing the sport of women's basketball. And what we've seen as of recent is network television, obviously the company I work for at ESPN, just making the decisions to put women's basketball in more visible spaces, grassroots media companies. I mean, we're not far removed from the 4% number, 4% of all sports coverage being dedicated to women's sports. So I know we've come ways. I haven't heard a new number since then, but that's an important aspect of this. Also, the play on the court is just better than we've ever seen it. I mean, this is a generation of college women's basketball players that's never been without the WNBA, a league that's also growing in every sense of the word when you look at metrics. But, I'm a part of the WNBA specifically, and just looking at merchandise sales, media coverage, the game being exciting, and I'll say the buildup of our superstars. Now in the social media age, we're getting to know the Caitlin Clarks and the Juju Watkins, and on the W side, the Asia Wilsons. We're getting to know them off the court and who they are as people. And so that's how you build fandom, is giving these women the opportunity to become household names. And the last thing I'll say is there's an investment from brands and businesses. I mean, we're not far removed from the weight room that we saw a few years ago on the NCAA side, the women's weight room, that sparked so much controversy. Well, now we're seeing companies putting dollars behind women's sports. So that's the investment that this sport deserves. And so now we're seeing that growth.
38-0 is crazy. This undefeated, it's a while. People can love the Caitlin Clark, but it's hard not to root for that. So it made it so compelling for somebody like me watching. Can they do that? Can they pull off an undefeated season? 38-0 is crazy. And I was looking at I was following your Twitter timeline during all the action in the weekend, and it was a lot of love for Dawn Staley, which everybody has an outpouring of love. Like when she's on camera, you just look at her, you're drawn to her. If there's a clip that passes on my timeline, I'm clicking it. What is it about Dawn and her Coach Staley, I should say, and her coaching style that sort of set her apart from other coaches that all sort of have, they're all built a certain way? What sets her apart?
Well, Dawn is an icon in the sport of women's basketball. She's someone who we have been trusting since she was that little fiery point guard at UVA, leading her team to multiple Final Fours. And she would go on to be an Olympic gold medalist. And in fact, she carried the torch in the Olympics for our Olympic Games. She was a staple in the WNBA. Now what she's done at South Carolina, no one saw her getting this done in Columbia, South Carolina. And she has a compelling story. She comes from, Philadelphia, from very humble beginnings. So we've watched Dawn Staley grow up over time. And so she's a trusted name in our sport and someone who has lifted our sport in every sense of the word, really since she was in college. So for a very long time, she's been a leader, and she's also been an advocate. So there's that respect for her across the board. But the reason why I think she's really able to have this impact on a team like we saw this year, this team went undefeated, but what we're not hearing a lot about is that they actually have 5 new starters from last year. So this was a completely new team, very young, but she's able to have that impact because she's an outstanding motivator. She knows how to teach and reach young people. They respect her. They know that she has sat in their seat in their chair before, and they've got all the goals that she probably had as a young player growing up. So the respect is there. She's an outstanding motivator. She really cares about these women, not just in terms of their performance on the court, but in their home life with their parents. Like, she's engaged in just mentoring and growing them in every way. So they respond to her because they know that she cares about them and that she is someone that is an absolute rock star and inspiration in our sport.
Losing 5 starters from your last year's successful team and overcoming that says, and then having an undefeated season like that is so, it's not talked about. I'm so glad you brought it up because it was my next question for you. But it's good to know context and more about her, of course, somebody who's meant so much to the game and clearly to you personally. And you're, I don't know if she's been an example for you in this way, but you're also very passionate about not only the sport, but what comes after the sport, about women in this field who find different ways to be involved in it. And you're the co-founder of Rising Media Stars. And I believe it's a partnership with NCAA, which we love to hear and love to see. What are you doing? How can we help? What do we need to know?
Yeah, well, thank you so much for asking. You and I both know, working in male-dominated fields, that it's hard, right, to get your foot in the door, especially when it comes to sport, where you don't see enough women, whether it's on the sideline, in the anchor seat, even as editors, when you look at the writing side in newspapers and just any type of sports coverage. So I wanted to make the transition into sports broadcasting easier for the women that are coming behind me. So I started Rising Media Stars about 5 years ago. With the goal of just providing resources, network, in the field opportunities for women of color in particular, who are a very small number of our reporters and journalists in front of the camera. I wanted to give them an opportunity to come and get help preparing for the next step in their career. So we are 4 classes in. We accept our 5th class this upcoming summer. There's 5 women in each class, and we just try to put them in position so when they actually get a job, they get hired, and that red light comes on, that they know what to say and how to prepare and how to dress and what kind of questions to ask, and just providing the mentorship that they need. And our hopes is to help diversify the field of sports broadcasting. And they leave our experience with a reel. They each have their own reel of work that they've done. And we've got great partners like NBC, NCAA, several of the sports teams in Atlanta. So they've all come together to help us in this mission and to help these women achieve their dreams.
Incredible. And you can go to, I believe it's risingmediastars.org. It's a non-for-profit. It's Atlanta-based. It's all those things and more. We appreciate it so much. And I'm sitting here, obviously, with another woman who covers the NFL. Carmen Batali is here from Fox Sports. We love you. We appreciate you, everything that you're doing. You guys can, of course, check out LaChina's work over with ESPN for WNBA. By the way, we heard you hung out with Jalen Hurts. You saw Jalen Hurts yesterday. Can we see this? Let's pop up with the photo. Do we have it?
Yes.
Tell me about this. A little love for Clutch.
I did hang out with Jalen Hurts. We have the same agent, the incredible Nicole Lynn. is both the agent for Jalen and myself. Even prior to her getting joining Clutch, she's been my agent for a while, and she is an absolute trailblazer, just an incredible person. And when I met Jalen yesterday for the first time, I said, "Does Nicole talk to you about women's basketball as much as she talks to me about the NFL?" So yeah, because she is an NFL agent by trade, but it's important for her to build women's sports. It's important to her to help build women in general. So that's why she took me on as a client, and she's amazing. But Jalen is awesome, and his support for women is well documented.
100%.
So
Well documented.
I was honored to meet him.
LaChina Robinson, thank you so much. Congratulations on all of the success and everything you're doing to grow the game.
Thank you so much for having me, and congratulations on your platform.
Oh my
You're
gosh,
awesome.
I just love. We were just talking about this. Okay.